What's up, everyone? Welcome to the M-W Tactical channel. My name is Michael Woodland, and today we're going to talk with a buddy of mine who is a competition shooter. All right, so now I'm here with the person I keep telling everybody about that I met at a competition, and at the same time, I know he's probably tired of me, but I literally ask this guy probably about 50 questions every time we link up once a week. Not so many questions, but I do ask a lot of questions. But I want to introduce everybody to Thom Powers. He's a competition shooter in USPSA, and I think he does a little bit of shooting in everything, IDPA, 3-gun, but we're going to find out and let him tell his story. What's going on, Thom? How you doing today?
Hey, Mike, not much, man. Having a lazy Sunday, but enjoying it nonetheless.
Hey, your Sunday is better than my Sunday, and I got to get back on the ball of things. So I'm coming back from Vegas, so you know how that can go sometimes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you had a ball over in Vegas for SHOT Show.
It was all business, but I was glad to link up with the people that I did link up with, and that was the best part about it. So, can you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about your background and what got you into shooting USPSA or competition shooting?
Yeah. Well, I always grew up with shotguns and rifles, and I grew up in South Carolina where most everybody likes to hunt. So I've always shot a shotgun. I was always familiar with shotguns and rifles. I actually didn't get my hands on a AR-15 type of weapon system until I joined the Army. I joined the Army back in October of 2014. And as most of you know, one of the first things you do, I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks in, you do your rifle training and out on the range. And first time I shot one of those, big smile came across my face, and I was very happy to be doing that at the time. It's one of the few things that I actually enjoyed in basic training. I graduated basic training and went through IBOLIC after that, and just got even more familiar with the weapon system. M4 is by far my favorite weapon system, and I have a couple AR-15s now. But after I graduated all my training that I needed in the Army to go do my job, first thing I did when I got to my new unit at Fort Polk, Louisiana, was I started looking up places to go shoot. Looking for matches and competitions I could participate in. And, I was initially interested in 3-gun because, like I said, my background was with shotguns and rifles. And I own pistols, but I didn't have a lot of experience with them. Now, if you would have asked me at that time, I would have told you, yeah, I have plenty of pistol training experience. But little did I know. Yeah. But I was initially interested in 3-gun, so I started looking around for 3-gun competitions because I had seen them on YouTube and stuff like that, and it piqued my interest because I've always loved firearms, and I had recently gotten acquainted with the M4, so I figured, man, this will be great. It'll help me become more proficient with the systems, and it'll help me become a better shooter overall, and that's got to be something that's valuable to a soldier.
I think everybody I spoke with in the military had the same eye-opening experience when it came to either doing IDPA or USPSA, thinking like, okay, we're in the military, we train, or we're in the military, we went to combat, we did this, so we're going to be more proficient at it. And through the competition, you're like, holy, how did that guy just do whatever he just did?
It's eye-opening. It really is, because you think you're this awesome shooter, and you go to your first competition and you are humbled.
Yes,
you really are. But by an accountant or a lawyer.
yeah, and that's the truth right there. That's the truth. So to give a little backdrop on how I actually met Thom Powers at competition, I had put it out to the audience here, maybe a month or two before I got back into competition shooting, that I want to get back into competition shooting. And the first match that I went back to, I met Thom Powers. I was on his squad and everything, and I noticed him kind of looking at me because I was the last one to shoot, and I just got back into it, and I was trying to, get comfortable with everybody. And I think it was like a mutual thing. He was looking at me, I was looking at him because I was amazed at how fluent you were when you was running the gun. And my friend that was with me, who was holding the camera and everything, and I told her, I was like, this guy right here is awesome. I'm pretty sure he's a grandmaster. And then when we started talking, you had told me you was a A-class shooter. And I was like, oh snap, okay, cool, cool. And then of course, by me trying to get my feet back wet again, I was asking you a lot of questions. So that's the backstory, so everybody can kind of put it together how we actually linked up with each other and how we associate. Now you said the M4 AR-15 platform is your favorite weapon. What is your favorite handgun overall?
It's going to depend on the application. I carry a different gun than I carry a different gun on a daily basis than what I would ever use in competition. And it depends on how I'm carrying. If I'm wearing a jacket, I'm going to wear a bigger gun that holds more rounds. If I'm carrying concealed under my shirt, then it's going to be a smaller gun. And if I'm shooting competition, it'll be a race gun, basically. Now, I shoot limited division and USPSA, so I don't have any of those space guns you see in open. But in terms of pistol, I carry on a daily basis a Glock 19, and I have a TLR1 HL attached to it, and I have a Vortex Viper red dot attached to it as well. And I carry that on the belt, during winter months when I'm able to wear a jacket over it. And I can also carry that one inside the appendix carry position. It's not as comfortable because I'm not the leanest guy in the world, but I can get away with it. I'll put it to you that way. But what I prefer to carry appendix, it mostly happens in the warmer months. But I carry it's akin to a Glock 42 or a Glock 43. It's actually a FNS 9 compact, and I have it in 40. But in terms of my favorite gun to shoot, it's obviously going to be my competition gun.
Right.
It's the one I train on the most because I want to be good at competition. And if you're getting good at competition, then you're training at the same time without knowing it. But you're creating those fundamentals that you can always fall back onto, no matter what gun, no matter what handgun you're shooting. But by far, I would say that this. I don't know if this is allowed. Can I show this?
Yeah, you good.
Okay.
You good.
All right. So this is my. Show you that it's empty and everything. No magazine. This is my STI Edge. It's got a lot of the grip enhancer that I use here on the grip, but it's supposed to be all black. This is a 2011. It's basically a double stacked 1911. It's got a kind of a jerry-rigged flat trigger here that I kind of came up with myself using some moldable glue. But this is my favorite gun. This is what I train on for competition. And when I'm dry firing at home, I'm not dry firing my carry weapons. I'm dry firing this. It's a 40 caliber, 40 Smith & Wesson. It's got about a 2-pound trigger in it, which I'd like to be lower, but beggars can't be choosers. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but there's almost no take up, and it's sweet. It's buttery smooth, and that is a stock STI gun. There are custom gun makers that make basically that same gun with enhanced parts. Guys with 1.5 pound trigger pulls and recoil systems that are recoil springs that allow you to get your second shot on target real fast. And they build them in a way that it just works with better parts and more applicable parts. You could run a 10-pound spring in some of those custom guns, but by far my favorite pistol to shoot is my competition STI Edge 2011 frame.
Now, I took your advice off of when we was talking. I think it was the last match or the time before that, one of those two matches, and you was telling me about base pad extensions, and I actually ended up getting those Terran Tactical base pad extensions, and it was Spartanburg and the one in Charleston,
Palmetto Gun Club.
Palmetto Gun Club.
Mhm.
Between those two courses, they had those courses set up, whereas if you don't have 20 round magazines,
Yeah.
you're pretty much left behind.
Yeah.
And I was literally planning out the stages, whereas I had to reload on empty, but I had to find that sweet spot of moving, so I'm not taking up too much time. The science aspect of the sport of shooting, that is a challenge to me, a challenge that I love, but I really do enjoy it. But what is your take on the running and gunning, or just so much the application of shooting when you do competition? Which one do you like better?
I love running and gunning.
Oh yes, I can tell. I can tell.
I love running and gunning. I like having to run, 20, 30 yards in between shooting positions.
Mhm.
It in my eyes, I'm a master class shooter in limited. I'm a grandmaster in PCC, and that's pretty much the only two divisions I shoot. I dabble in carry optics, but I haven't really. I just recently got a classification on it, but it wasn't a true classification. But um, shooting my limited gun or my PCC, it's both of those divisions are very competitive, and I find that, and I'm a very competitive person as well. And what I find is that usually, there are stand and shoot type stages, much like classifiers, where you draw and you pop off the rounds as fast as possible, accurately as possible. Um, but you're not moving; you're just standing there.
Right.
Um, and a lot of times, depending on how many points are in that stage, stages with low points, you're going to have a much wider range of hit factors. But with the higher round count stages, the hit factors on those stand and shoot stages, a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times end up being relatively close to each other. I mean, you're talking about a difference between, a grandmaster and an A class guy, and they're less than a hit factor apart from each other. Um, and I'm not really interested in that. I want to run. I want to run around. I want to use my movement and my stage planning to gain an advantage on everybody else out there. I find that the longer field courses where it requires me to move, maybe some shooting on the move. It requires you to plan your reload, your magazine changes, and stuff like that. I find that I'm able to, based on stage planning and my movement, I'm able to gain the most advantage over other shooters on those types of stages. So the competitive nature in me always likes those a lot better because I can broaden the gap on those types of stages.
I like that one stage, well, couple stages we did when we was up there in Augusta. And the one where we had to balance on the beam,
Oh
and
yeah,
it gave you the option between you can either shoot on either side of it or balance on the beam.
yeah.
And you actually took a different approach from when we talked about it, because I felt more comfortable running to the box and then
Hmm.
shooting from the box and then going to the beam. But what you did was you started from the start point and ran straight to the beam. And you shot the whole course on the beam. Um, One thing I did discover when I started getting my feet back wet into it, and I try to figure out all the ways you can run the course, and there's normally about between 3 and 5 ways you can run the course, with the time variance getting better depending on which route you take. Um, does that process play in your mind like that when it comes to planning a stage?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The way I usually do it is when I walk up on a stage, first thing I'm going to do is go look at the diagram and read the course instructions. I'm going to see how many paper targets there are. I'm going to see how many steel targets there are. Get an overall round count, and then based on that, I will start at the start position, and I'll just walk the entire stage to see what I can see. I'm not thinking about shooting any targets. I'm not thinking about when I'm going to do my mag change or anything like that. I'm just looking to see where all the targets are. I'm counting the paper targets and I'm counting the steel targets to make sure I'm not missing anything. And then I'll go back to the back of the line and I'll run through it again and I'll start developing a stage plan. Generally, I would like to, and it always depends on the type of stage, but generally I would like to limit how many shooting positions I have because I shoot limited. I only have typically I only have to do one mag change per stage. So I'll find my first shooting position and I'll count the rounds. And then I'll find my next one, I'll count the rounds. And that way I'll know, okay, I need to start thinking about a mag change. And then I'll go find the rest of the targets, count how many rounds there are after my first mag change to make sure I have enough for each position in one mag. And then I'll run to the back of the line again and do it all over again. And I run through, or I do my walkthrough about 4 or 5 times, and each time I'm tacking something down. I'm making sure that I have all my bases covered. I'm making sure everything is the way I want it to be. And typically, once I get my stage plan, I'm sticking to it. Like just the other day, just yesterday in Spartanburg, my little brother shoots with me too. He's an A-class shooter, Thom Powers, at Agent Pew, if anyone wants to follow him on Instagram. But he actually came to me and he said, "Hey, this is how I'm running it, this stage." And I was like, "Wow, you know what? That looks like it's probably a better stage plan than what I have in mind." But I didn't change it. And the only reason why I didn't change it is because I had my stage plan memorized. I finish the walkthrough and I have my stage plan. And all I do until it's my turn to shoot is I simulate shooting that stage so that I don't forget anything. And that allows when you have it ingrained in your head before each stage how to shoot it, you don't have to think. You don't have to think about it at all. You can just react. You're just running through the stage. You know exactly where you're going next. You don't have to hesitate for anything because you know exactly what's going to happen. And that takes basically, I mean, I know shooting is a social event and I like to be social, but at the same time, if I'm at a major match, a level 2 or a level 3, I'm not going to be socializing a lot because most of the time I'm trying to ingrain my stage plan into my memory before each stage. So my little brother told me his stage plan. I was like, that's probably a better way, but I didn't change anything. And my little brother ended up beating me on that stage, but it was okay because I don't need to win every stage in order to win the match. The USPSA and 3-gun is all about consistency. If you can place in the top 10% of each stage you shoot, then you're generally going to be pretty high up there, if not winning the match. Even bigger matches allow you to have a disaster stage and still place up there high, but it's all about consistency. So my brother ended up winning that stage, and I think I came in second or third on that particular stage. But it didn't hurt me. I was within 5% of him. He ran it better than I did, but stage planning is major, and
Yes.
a B-class shooter can become a master, or maybe I should say a C-class shooter can become a master if he just becomes an expert at stage planning on what works best for him. And all that is in order to do that, all you need to do is go out every weekend and shoot matches.
So we sat down and we was talking, and I even told you like my plan is to become an A-class shooter. This was back in like December when we had this conversation. My plan is to become an A-class shooter by December 30th of this year. All right, so that gives me a year of prep to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm thinking by the summertime I should be at least B class. Because there's going to be a couple schools that I go to in the process. Because there's other projects that I'm working on. There's one project called Operation Training Day,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be going down to Bill Rogers Shooting School, and he actually focuses on the whole reactive training. As soon as you touch the gun and you come out your holster, you're pulling the trigger, and by the time your arms are extended, the trigger is already pressed.
No wasted movement.
Yeah. Right. So I'll be doing that one, and then there's another one. I can't remember the name of it, but this one It kind of narrows everything down from the draw to when to pick up and explode for full body movement to slowing yourself down and everything like that. So I think between those two, I think it's going to put me on that pathway where I want to go. But
Mike,
yeah,
I got to interrupt you, man.
yeah,
You're going to make A class for one reason and one reason only.
because I want it.
It's because you want it and you're out there every time you can be out there and you're training
Mhm.
for it.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. You know,
Oh, yeah.
anybody in DC B class, those guys are newer shooters typically, or
Mhm.
guys that shoot maybe once a month.
Right,
You know, they haven't made the commitment like you and I have.
right.
You're gonna make A class.
Oh, yeah,
it,
yeah,
it,
yeah.
it,
So
it's
that's the
it's
goal.
gonna it might take a couple months, but I mean, I can see it happening. You have the mindset for it, and I
Mhm.
know that from shooting with you, and you have the commitment to it as well. So, you know, I started shooting in April of 2017. I
Mhm.
haven't been shooting competition for that long. I,
It's been that short of a time?
yeah. When I started shooting in April in 2017. I knew I was hooked. I made a
Mhm.
goal for myself. I said, I told myself, what do I want to do? What are my short-term goals and what are my long-term goals? Long-term goals. Well, my short-term goals at that time were to get a better gun so I could be more competitive. But my long-term goal was to make a master class in limited division within 1 year of my first match, and
Mhm.
I was able to achieve that goal. And all what it took was shooting every weekend
Right,
and dry firing when you instead of sitting down and watching TV, you know, you're dry firing instead. It takes commitment, and if you want to be one of the better shooters, all you need to do is go shoot. It took me a year to make master, and right now I set after I made master, I set another goal to make grandmaster in limited within 2 years of making master. So by the time my 3 year anniversary of shooting USPSA, I wanted to be a GM in limited division. Now I still have a lot of time left on that goal. But right now, you know, I've been shooting a lot of majors. I shot a lot of majors last year. And what I'm finding is that I am the epitome of a masterclass shooter currently. I'm
right.
not I'm not on the level of GMs yet. I can't keep up with most well, I should say true GMs like John Browning and Shane Coley and those guys. Obviously I can't keep up with those guys yet. Um, so right now I'm okay with being a masterclass shooter because I feel like that's where my skill set is at. But I I'll be honest with you. I lost a little bit of drive once I made master class, but once I get to a point where you know I'm winning matches right now as a master class shooter because you know you go to local matches, it's not a lot of competition above master, but you know I'm starting to feel it to where almost every match I'm going to, I'm winning, and I'm starting to feel like I need more. And
Right.
my first major for this year is coming up in Florida in February. It's the Florida Open match, and I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to shoot PCC or limited. But if I do go and shoot limited with that gun, I will realize that yeah, I'm a great local shooter, but these GMs on the national level, I can't compete with them. So basically, that drive, I'm starting to feel that drive build back up in me right now because I want to be on that level. I want to be one of the best shooters in the nation, and it's going to take more than what I'm putting into it currently to achieve that status. And I think that those majors are gonna help me prepare for it.
So
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, you know what I told my that Spartanburg match I shot? Whatever took place at that Spartanburg match, after the second stage, everything went downhill for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't making no excuses. I was just shooting like crap. And I was telling my friend, I was like, at this moment is when I need Tom. And then she was like, well, go talk to him. I said, it's not the same. He needs to look at me so he can tell me what I need to focus on, what I need to do. And then she was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I said, okay, so there was another match we did when I came close to breaking the 180, right? The next stage, I was holding myself back because I was concentrating on not breaking the
I
180.
remember that. We had a
Yeah, and
discussion
then
about that.
yeah, and then he was like, even like, yo, look, stop focusing on that. That already happened. So this next one, you need to blow it out the park. Just do you. Go ahead, just open it up. If you get disqualified, go home. So what? Come to the next one. you know. And that's when I kept telling her, and I was like, yo, I need to go find Thom. I need to go find Thom. But that was the one when you wasn't certain if you was gonna come to it. And then when you did come, the squads were already filled up or something like
Yeah.
that, and we couldn't swap it to get there and everything like that. So like, is there anybody outside of your brother who you actually turn to at competition when you have a moment like that?
Yeah. There's a small group of masterclass guys in limited division that generally shoot the same matches in the state of South Carolina. One of them is Mr. Wally Burbage. Me and him generally, excuse me, he and I generally shoot the same matches. Not every single weekend, but a lot of the weekends. And I won't necessarily ask him. I won't straight up go to him on the stage and ask him, "Hey, what are you planning on doing here?" Or I'm not gonna ask him, what could you or I have done better in this particular situation. But having his presence there, or any other shooter that I feel is, pushing me or way better than me, having that person's presence there makes me a better shooter because I know exactly what I need to do to be on par or better. Um, every time I go to a major match, I try to squad with um, a world class shooter. Uh, and if I can't, then it's okay. But I always try to because I want to see what they're doing, and I want to compare it to what I'm doing. And when I find the differences, I'm going to take steps to change what I'm doing so that I can be on the level that they're on at some point in my career. And I think it's huge to always have somebody better than you shooting with you. And even if you're not talking to them, asking them questions, you're learning by watching what they're doing and seeing how they do things.
Mhm.
This applies not only in shooting, but in everything that has a competitive aspect to it. You're going to learn from somebody who's better than you, as long as you want to.
That's very true right there. So, but I'm like you. A lot of times, like obviously, when I'm doing the local matches, that's the first thing I look for is where you're squatting up at, and I try to
Yeah.
jump on that squad. But in the event that you're not going to be there, or if I know you're not going to be there, that's the same thing I do. I try to go with the higher class people.
Hmm.
So for one, it pushes me, and number two, hopefully somebody will come in and give me a little advice of what I could have done better.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I look at. Now I actually made the commitment sometime this year. I don't know when exactly, but I'm going to try to dive into at least 3 major matches this year.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. Now, the whole thing is, I do know the round count is up in a major match.
Hmm.
You're gonna do a lot more running and gunning, and your stage planning is going to be a lot more elaborate than a local match. But if you was to give advice to somebody, and today was their first day doing a majors match, what would you tell them to do?
If they're shooting the match today,
Hmm.
then there's not much they can do in order to change what their outcome is, except for having a mindset. Um, if you want to be competitive and be good at anything you do, you need to have the mindset. You can't be afraid of failure. If somebody's shooting their first match, their first major match, there's a decent chance they're going to have some lessons learned in that match. But going in there into the match with a mindset of getting better and not being afraid to fail, then you're going to push yourself to levels that you didn't know you were capable of at first. And yeah, you might fail while you're pushing that hard, but it's going to show you what it takes to be better in the long run.
Mhm.
Winning or shooting major matches, unless you're a GM or a master, typically is not winning it overall is not something that most shooters will be eyeing. So if this is somebody's first major match, I'm going to tell them on that morning, have the correct mindset. Go in there, not afraid to fail, and do something today that's going to make you better in the long run. Even don't plan on winning this match because somebody out there is better than you, and they're probably going to win it. But that's not why you're out here today. You're going to be that guy in the next few years. Today, you're out here so that you can learn to do what it takes to become that guy.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. That's great advice to give somebody like that. And mindset is the 90%. Well, I will actually say 95% of when it comes to shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now before we wrap up, you got to tell me what's the deal between the bets you and your brother make when y'all be before y'all do a stage. Now, the backdrop of these bets be so funny. It's down to the millisecond. Like literally, it's like, man, I think I can do this in probably 17.3 seconds. Or I'm like, looking like, what's going on here? So and I understand it, but can you explain to those who are listening the objective between you and your brother making these bets down to the millisecond?
So it's just that competition nature, man. Me and my brother, we spend a lot of time together. There's a lot of things that are said between us that aren't actually spoken. So when we both get done looking at a particular stage, every now and then he'll look at me or I'll look at him and I'll be like, 15 seconds. You got the over or the under? So basically, the reason why we're doing that is it's a multitude of reasons. But number one, we're competitive, so we're gonna make a side bet on any particular stage we're shooting. But number two, generally we're trying to get an idea of what it's going to take to be competitive on this particular stage. And just in Spartanburg yesterday, I told Sam, I was like, all right, this stage, 12 seconds. And he said, no way, not a chance. I said, well, why not? I've run it in my mind so many times. It seems like that would work out. Not even the top shooters ran at 12 seconds. I mean, I think the best time was 14 and a half, and that was from a grandmaster shooting an open. And he won that bet. But it's a way for us to get an idea of what it's going to take to win this stage or to be competitive in this stage. And if I'm thinking something like 12 seconds on a stage that obviously, well, it was obvious to everyone except me, apparently, that is not going to take 12 seconds, then obviously I'm looking at something wrong. And Sam told me, nah, man, I'm looking at 15 seconds. And it's a way for us to calibrate, basically. And we're getting each other's advice and each other's input. So if I would have tried to shoot that stage in 12 seconds, which I did, I ended up getting my only penalties for the match. On that one stage, I had 2 mics and a no shoot. That's the only penalties I had in the entire match. And if I would have taken, if I would have been on the same mindset as my brother, if I would have used that bet as a way to calibrate myself like I usually do, I probably wouldn't have tried to shoot that stage in 12 seconds, and I could have mitigated those mistakes that I made on it. But Sam shot it in 15 something seconds. I can't remember, but he ended up in the top 3 for that stage. So it's a way for us to have fun with a side bet, a competition nature, and then it's also a way for us to calibrate so that we can get on the same page. Typically, if I feel like I'm going to shoot 1 in 12 and he says 15, then that means, okay, we need to figure out what the difference is here, and one of us is wrong, and we need to figure out why. and it's a way for us to be better shooters, basically. And it's kind of under the surface, but it's when you delve into it and break it down, that's basically what we're doing.
Oh yeah, like I said, to me, it's funny to listen to y'all talk. And it kind of lightens up the mood and takes your mind off of the seriousness of everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're not out there to not have any fun. No, we all love shooting. It's because it's fun for us, and everyone wants to be competitive at the same time. But what's the point of being competitive if you're not having fun, right?
That's true. That's very true. All right, so now, can you go ahead and tell us if somebody wants to look you up, where can they find you at?
Yeah, my Facebook page is, it's a lot more, not so much shooting focused, but I post a lot of my videos to Facebook. My Facebook name is Thom Powers. Tom spelled with an H, THOM. My Instagram is all shooting. Everything I post on there is shooting related. It is at ShootyPie, ShootyPie. You can find me on there, and I generally post something at least once a week because that's when I've shot my match. Also, want to give a shout out to Red Dirt Shooting Sports, one of my sponsors. A competition shooter can get on his website and pick up anything they need. He carries a lot of double alpha gear, which I absolutely love. They make some of the best stuff. But yeah, go give Red Dirt Shooting Sports a look and next time you need to buy something.
All right. And then now I know Sam, he said he's like camera shy and microphone shy. But we're gonna put him on blast also. So what's his Instagram and Facebook?
Little brother Sam Powers, his Instagram handle is at Agent Pew, AGENTPEW. He doesn't maintain a Facebook, but he generally posts. He doesn't post quite as often as I do, but he does post on Instagram, and it's generally shooting related stuff. But yeah, give him a check out as well.
Oh yeah. Now, one thing I can say between the two of these young men, they actually take the time and like literally talk to me about certain things when it comes to stage planning, shooting the course, and analyzing. So I do want to applaud y'all too for helping me out like that when it comes to shooting. But just like anything else in life, you won't be good at what you're doing by doing it all by yourself. You need the help.
Yeah.
And y'all two are the ones that help me out weekly when it comes to shooting these matches.
Yeah. Hey man, look, you helped me out too. A lot of times I don't even think about stuff until you ask me that questions, and then I'm forced to think about it. I'm like, you know what? I should probably be thinking about this stuff. But I love it when people ask me questions because, it's a way to get other people hooked on it. And it's not a huge sport right now, but it's growing. And, the competition's only going to get better with time as the sport grows. And that's what we all want. We all want to be competitive, and we all want to have fun while we're doing it. So I love it when people ask questions because it spreads the word, man. It spreads the word.
Yep. That's it. All right. So this is what we had. Competition shooter, Thom Powers in the limited division of USPSA. And next week, we'll come back and talk about something different. Until then, y'all take care. For those who are looking to contact me, visit m-wtactical.com, but make sure you go to our Instagram and Facebook and search for m-w tactical to find our page so you can follow us there. If you decide to give me a call at 803-250-1256 and I do not answer, please leave a voicemail or text message, and I promise I will get back to you. Until next time, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun.